Rambam, the laws of oaths. We continue. We are chapter 7. So when two people are forbidden by vow or by oath to derive benefit from each other, just to give you like a scenario, we're learning the parameter of the law, so it doesn't matter what brought this to, but two people got into an argument and they each one, says, you're da da da, and you know what? Uh, I'm not going to derive any benefit from you because you're such and such. And the other guy says, yeah, well, I'm not going to derive any benefit from you. And they make an oath, they make a vow with God's name, right? Saying such a thing, right? So they're allowed, though, to return a lost article to each other because doing so is a mitzvah. In other words, if someone said that, if Reuven and Shimon, they exchanged such blessings between each other, right? They still are, it says allowed. It says allowed. Does that mean they're not obliged though? And yes, since they're allowed, they are obligated. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's interesting why Rambam uses that term. So they're obligated to return. Why? Even though it's a benefit you're giving to that person. But that doesn't matter because you're doing a mitzvah. In other words, you're doing something you're obliged to do. In the place where it is customary for the person who returns a lost article to receive a reward, the reward should be given temple treasury. That you can't get because that's not a mitzvah. That's a custom that in some places, you found my wallet and now you returned it to me. So the custom was that you gave something to the person, right? That you're not allowed to because that's getting a benefit. So that has to be given temple treasury. For if the person who returns the lost article will take the reward, he will be receiving a benefit, and therefore he'll be transgressing the vow that he made. Not allowed to do that. If he does not take it, he will be giving it to another person, to the other person benefit. But on the other hand, so you say, okay, just don't take it. But if the custom is that you do give it, so then the person who, remember, they made the exchange between each other, right? Reuven and Shimon. So now Reuven, who's got the lost object, he's got to return it to Shimon, he's got to benefit. Shimon's going to get the benefit. Why Shimon's getting a benefit? Because he's not going to give away money. So that's a benefit. That's why you have to give it to the temple treasury. Wow. That's amazing. They are both permitted to make use of those entities that are owned jointly by the entire Jewish people. Temple Mount, its chambers, courtyards, as well in the midst of a highway. They are forbidden to make use of those entities that are owned jointly by the inhabitants of the city. Its marketplace, its bathhouse, its synagogues, its ark, and the holy texts. Wow. Because what's the difference? Because Temple Mount, right, the highways, people don't have a share in it. It belongs to I don't know what the entity, what it belongs to. I'm not certain. But a synagogue, a public bathhouse of the community, right? And the marketplace, a public marketplace, that everybody has a share of the community. It's not belonging to the city, right? It's belonging to the community. So now, if it belongs to Reuven and Shimon, Reuven is going to benefit from Shimon. That's something he owns, and Shimon's going to. So they can't make use of this because of the vow or the oath that they took. Follow? Yeah, make sense? Yeah. Number 3. What can they do so that they are permitted to use these entities? Each one of them should sign over his portion to the Nasi or to another person and have them acquire that portion through a medium of another person. Wow. So you have to give up your right right, right. To that public thing, the bathhouse, right? It's a public bathhouse. That's where people, that's where how they took the showers, right? Or took their baths, uh, weekly back in the day. Exactly. So they all had a membership, let us say, let's for argument's say, I don't know how it worked exactly, but let's say they all had. So now that Reuben and Shimon have to sell their portion to the leader of the community. So they no longer have a portion. They could still use it, but they don't have a portion, right? And it has to be an acquisition. So it's not theirs anymore. Thus, when either of them enter the bathhouse belonging to the members of the city or to the synagogue, he is not entering property of the colleague from whom he is forbidden to benefit. For each of them has relinquished his share of the place and given it away as a present. Wow, is that amazing? Okay, number 4. Following laws apply when both partners in a courtyard, right? So Reuven, Shimon, they're partners in a courtyard, right? So they're going to benefit from the courtyard, both of them, right? That was a common, several houses would open up to a common courtyard that would combine many properties of homeowners. And here we're talking about two owners took a vow not to benefit from each other, right? They got into an argument, and you don't see people doing this today, but back in the day, this is something people would do. I'm really upset at you. How am I going to be upset? I'm not going to have any benefit from you. I don't want anything from you, right? But there's a problem. You share a courtyard. So if it can be divided, the courtyard, they're forbidden to enter it unless if it can be divided, they're forbidden to enter it unless it is divided and each person enters his portion, right? If it cannot be divided, each one should enter his house saying, I'm entering my property regardless. They are both forbidden to place a mill or an oven there or to raise chickens in this courtyard. So the only thing you can't do anything there that would be a common thing that people did in a courtyard, right? Raise chickens there, have a mill, your oven. Ovens were not in the house. Ovens were outside, right? Houses were very small. They were just like for living. This, speaking like Talmudic times, right? So those things you would not be able to do. The only thing you could have is entryway into your house, right? Because you couldn't divide the courtyard in such a way that I would only be going on my property to get to my place, and you would only go through your part of the courtyard to get to your place. If that was not possible, so then, then you would just, I guess, be mindful of the fact that you're just going through. I'm entering my property. I mean, you're just going through something, right? Even though there's a benefit there, because I'm walking through a joint area and I have a benefit that way I can get to my house, but I'm not really benefiting from it. I'm just going through it.
So you're telling yourself, this is my property, even though it might be infringing on someone else, but it's a common courtyard,
right?
Which cannot be divided. So obviously, at least of what I'm thinking, you should be. I don't want to say the word infringing, but for what a better word, infringing on other people's property. Are you then saying, I'm entering my house? I'm entering my property. I'm not following that.
1 second. Since a person has a right to get to his home, right, and you have a right of way, so therefore, when you're going through that part that is remember, it's jointly owned, right? It's jointly owned. So that part, and when you're going through, you're thinking to yourself, saying to yourself, whatever, that this is my property I'm going through. Why? Because we have no alternative. Otherwise, you would not be able to get to your home. The only way you can get to your home is maybe if you had a helicopter that, dropped you, on your doorstep.
Might be difficult thing to rent.
Yeah. So, so I guess, it's a bit of a question over here because this is a biblical law, right? So with a biblical law, you're kind of stringent. So there's a leniency over here. It's a leniency. Okay, number 5. When 2 people are partners in a courtyard, and one of them takes an oath that the other may not benefit from him, we force the person who took the oath to sell his portion. You took the oath that someone else can't benefit from you? Well, then you're going to have to sell your portion. If he took the oath not to benefit from the other person, he's permitted to enter his home, for he is entering his own domain. He may not, however, make any other use of the courtyard, as explained in previous halacha. Wow, fascinating. Okay, I have to stop over here. Thank you, folks. God bless.
Thank you.
I'll see you.